the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. That's why I created the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Every show is 30 minutes, and the guests are my Divorced Girl Smiling trusted professionals. They're so wonderful. Financial advisors, divorce attorneys, mediators, divorce coaches, therapists, and more. We talk about every subject that you can even think of having to do with divorce. The podcast is meant to empower you and inspire you and make you feel really, really confident so that you can have a good divorce outcome and a great post-divorce life. You can find the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found, and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling. Before we get started, I have to say that one of the hardest life decisions is, should we get divorced or should we try to save our marriage? So many couples go back and forth for months, sometimes even years, trying to make the right decision. Well, did you know that there's a process called discernment counseling that is dedicated to helping you and your spouse make that decision? And if you're interested, I know a wonderful therapist and master practitioner of discernment counseling who can help you. Her name is Dr. Jenny Wright. She is highly experienced and dedicated in this field. If you want to learn more, you can find Jenny at lwadiscernment.com. I also want to tell you about a wonderful therapy group in Chicago and in Northbrook. The name of the practice is Affiliates in Counseling. Jason Price is the co-founder. I have known Jason for about 15 years. He's a wonderful therapist himself, but he also has 50 therapists in the practice, and many of them specialize in helping individuals, kids, and couples and young adults with going through a divorce and after. If you want to learn more, you can find Affiliates in Counseling at affiliatesincounseling.net. And you can find both Ginny and Affiliates in Counseling in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. If you are somebody who's thinking about divorce or going through one, or you're in the thick of it, or even if you are living life as a single parent after divorce, this is a great episode for you because we're going to talk all about budgeting and investing for women. Really, women over 50 is the title, but you could be 40 and over and benefit from this. You could be 60, 70. I believe anybody who wants to learn more about managing your money and not having to worry about it and just feeling good and confident financially can benefit from this episode. Love my guests. Can't wait to introduce them. They are Pete Mullins and Lauren Connelly, financial advisors for Vestor Capital. Pete is a CDFA, certified divorce financial analyst. He has been in the business. He has tons of other credentials, but he has been in the business since 2008. Lauren Connelly has been a financial advisor since 2014. They are my financial advisors personally and have been for, I believe, 10 years or so. And so, hi, Pete. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Thanks for having us.
I love how am I on like this big screen where you're watching me and I'm like in a 50-inch screen. I love that.
Yes.
Makes me a little
You
uncomfortable.
deserve the big screen, Jackie.
But Pete and Lauren are in their office, and we thought it would be a good idea to just talk about budgeting and investing for women over 50, whether you are, like I said, thinking about divorce, going through one, or after divorce. So I want to start this off, Pete, with a question. These women that come into your office that are going through a divorce and they say, okay, somebody recommended that I talk to you. What is the vibe that you get from a lot of these women?
Well, Jackie, people come to us in one of two positions. either they typically have handled the finances for their marriage and that was their job, or very commonly they haven't ever handled their finances or their budget. And so it's not just figuring out, where are we today? They don't know what the future holds. So, we work with everybody and not everybody's an expert at everything. But when women come in, no matter where we are, we try and meet them where they are. I really think budgeting is the foundation of financial success. And you really need to get a handle on that. And if you've always done it, it might be changing and you're going from what you're doing to what you were doing to what you need to be doing while you're going through divorce and eventually setting yourself up for post-divorce. What does your budget look like then? And just getting organized, even if you're an expert, it always helps to put another set of eyes on it.
Okay, so you're right. There's two kinds of people, really. I mean, obviously everyone's different, but there's people who are used to doing the finances and they're like, okay, my situation's changing. I need a plan. I need this. I need to figure out my life financially. And then there's the woman who I was thinking you were going to say, who comes in, who has never handled finances, who might not even have ever paid a bill, except like, okay, maybe you pay the credit card bill, doesn't know anything about the stock market, investing, budgeting, accounts, financial accounts, and is really embarrassed by it, which I always tell women, do not be embarrassed. You were doing your role, he was doing his role. And so they're insecure, they're scared, they're embarrassed to say that they don't know stock market terms. So Lauren, maybe you as a woman can tell me how you think these women feel.
Sure, there's a lot of feelings going on. There's a lot of emotions that we're dealing with. And again, when we're going through a transition, something as big as divorce, especially, I think, having to take on another task can feel daunting. So having a team behind you is really the most important part of, going through the process, making sure you're comfortable.
So I want to tell my listeners that I actually have a Series 7 license. And Pete, I don't even know if you know this about me, but my first job out of college, I was a financial advisor, but they didn't call it financial advising back then. I was like a stockbroker, I guess they called it. And I would cold call and try to get people to invest. My point of me telling you guys this is I actually understood the market and passed the Series 7 test, which is what you need to pass to trade stocks. And I still don't even really understand the market. So, I mean, I do in a way, but can you imagine somebody who doesn't have any of that training, who has never handled any finances, who is now, okay, her husband's leaving or she decided to get divorced and now she has to start on her own? That would be really scary to me.
Yeah. Well, first off, Jackie, you do have a very good understanding and a better understanding than most. But I love this question because it really ties into great, you have this knowledge. What do you do with it? Investing is different than budgeting. And when you put the two together, and we're really talking about financial plans really dictate what you need to be doing to optimize your outcomes. And again, we got to meet people where they are. And regardless of what knowledge you bring into the situation, I'm going to come back to this idea. Budgeting is the foundation, and the investment piece is really what secures your future. And you need the two of them together. And it doesn't matter what you know, it's figuring out where you are and what your assets can do for you. Our job as financial planners isn't to tell people what to do with their money, it's to illustrate where they are, to illustrate the ideas that they have, and to give them the tools they need to make the right financial decisions for themselves. And the best part of this job and working with women, especially as they're going through the divorce, is watching them build the confidence as they start having someone help them through the budgeting process. And it becomes something that they take control of. We can help do it for them. They're going to have their ideas. We're going to illustrate them and show them that they can do this. And when you see people build confidence from the first time you speak with them to when the divorce is final to 5 years after divorce, and now they've got complete confidence in their plan, I would argue that's probably the best thing that we get to see when we do our job.
Okay, I love this. And that was my next question. What exactly is a financial plan? So I want to get into that a little bit more specifically. I'm going to go to a break first. You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I'm here with Vestor Capital, specifically Pete Mullins, a CDFA and financial advisor, and Lauren Connelly, financial advisor. And I didn't say any of your other credentials, Pete or Lauren, but they're both very experienced and they have lots of credentials. They know what they're doing. They're my financial advisors. After the break, we're going to talk more specifically about what a financial plan is, why so many women don't have a budget, including the old me before I met Vestor, the benefits of having one, and what they say to women who say, he took care of all the finances. I don't think I can handle this. We'll be right back. I want to tell you about two Divorced Girls Smiling trusted professionals who I think are wonderful. The first one is Erica Sparrow, who is a divorce attorney in Indiana, and Erica calls herself a peacemaker. Erica is also a mediator, and she can also advocate for you, but then she can also act as a neutral and be a mediator for a couple. Erica is wonderful. She's extremely passionate, and she truly is dedicated to helping people get divorced in a peaceful, amicable way. If you want to learn more about Erica, you can find her at sparrowlawpc.com, and it's spelled Speraw. The other person I want to tell you about is Jan Leisure, who is a certified divorce lending professional and mortgage lender. She's a division president for Diamond Residential Mortgage Corp. And Jan has been a mortgage lender since 1997, but has specialized in divorce for a long time. I trust Jan. She's a great listener. She's so passionate, and she is so dedicated to helping people through the divorce process, either refinance or buy a new home. If you want to learn more, you can find Jan at diamondresidential.com/Jan Leisure. And you can find both Erica and Jan in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. Today I'm here with Pete Mullins, CDFA, and Lauren Connelly. They are financial advisors for Vestor Capital, a Chicago-based firm. They do business with people anywhere in the country. And today we are talking about budgeting, investing as it pertains to divorce, during divorce, and after divorce. So what exactly, Pete, is a financial plan? Like, that can mean a lot of different things to people. But for a divorced person, what do you think that means?
First, I'll tell you what it isn't. It's not someone showing up without understanding anything about you or your situation and telling you, here's what your investment should be. It very much is first understanding where you are today, figuring out what your needs are, creating a plan for today now, particularly organization, figuring out where your assets and liabilities are, putting them in one place, figuring out your budget. What was I doing? What were my expenses? What are my expenses? Because maybe you don't have access to income as you're going through a divorce. Maybe you don't have access to assets that you had access to as you're going through a divorce. What are your needs today? And what do your needs look like post-divorce? So first off, organization, assets, liability, current income and expenses, future income and expenses. We take that information and then we try and figure out, what does this look like? How do you sustain this for the next 60 years, right? How do we make sure that you never run out of money? How do we make sure that you're living on a budget today so that in the future, we don't have to have worries that you're living a great life today, but 20 years from now, you're broke and you have to make massive changes. And it's not just doing a plan that we do one time up front and never look at again. It's then continuously checking in on that. What assumptions have we gotten right? How do we adjust? But we know that if we get the ship pointed in the right direction from day one, financial success is much more likely to occur. And our job, again, we could come up with the most creative financial plan in the world. If it's something that our clients aren't interested in executing on, it's almost worthless. We need to come up with plans that work, that we can agree are in your best interest, and then we need to help you execute them. But if you're not interested in executing them, they almost always lead to failure. And that's a problem for us. So you don't always know day one. You can't just come in with all the answers. It's really meeting you where you are, figuring out what you have and how to get the optimal result from your assets. And people have different ideas on that. For some people, it may be spend everything, today. We're going to push back on that pretty hard. For others, it's, well, I'm young and I'm healthy now. I have children that I need to take care of. My expenses today are much different than maybe they look like for my retirement. But how can we get a plan that you want to execute on? And then we work our way backwards. And just one last thing on that, Jackie. The plan really helps set expectation for clients. They're no longer wondering, what does life look like post divorce? They have a good idea of what a professional thinks like they can accomplish, no matter what path they go down. And once we agree on something, it's as much a game plan for us as it is for them. That's when we know how we should be investing your assets. That's when we really get to work for our clients. So that's, sorry for the long-winded answer there, but it's such an important piece to address, and preferably the sooner the better. We can work with anyone at any stage, but if you're going through this, getting organized and prepared to evaluate your financial situation, the sooner you do it, the better.
Okay, so it sounds like a lot of you guys asking questions, listening, then doing your financial plan based on, because I remember when you did mine, like filling out all this stuff about like that you never even thought of. So I don't know how other people do it, but I can tell you, Vestor, they make it really easy for you, because I remember filling out these forms like, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So they think of everything. You write down as much as you can. Some things you're going to have to be like, I don't know. And then they do this financial plan based on what we know now. And so, like Pete said, if you nobody can predict the future. We could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But nobody can predict, but all you can do is budget as best you can for now. And like Pete said, like I know Pete and I meet every 6 months to a year just to say, hey, how things going? Any changes? Anything new in your life that would affect your financial plan? Well, let's readjust the numbers so that we still know all the time where you're at. And like Pete said, you don't have to worry that you're ever going to run out of money, yet, you can't take it with you. So you should enjoy your money too. So there's a fine line. Okay, moving on to, and this is sort of a loaded question. Why do you guys think so many women don't budget? They just don't. I know what I would say.
I think that there is sometimes a fear of the unknown, and it's very easy to put off something for a later date. I'll look at it. I'm going through something. I need to get through this first, and then I'll look at it. The divorce is over. I've got the kids. I'll get through that, then I'll look at it. Well, I'll change when I need to change. I'm not sure, and then I'll look at it. And so procrastination is easy because it doesn't require any change.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Sometimes people are
People
afraid
don't
of
want to,
things.
they don't want to face it. They're too scared. I was the same way. I don't want to know because it's just going to cause me stress. Well, guess what? If you don't want to know, it's going to cause you a lot more stress later. Take the stress now if it's worse than you thought, which is what happened to me. And then you build from there. You make better decisions. And like Pete said, if you do it in before your divorce is final, like don't say, oh, I'm going to wait till the divorce is final and then I can have this whole plan with the money that I get. Well, guess what? If you do the financial plan now during the divorce, the decisions that you make in the divorce might shape what you get. So you really are better off doing it as soon as possible. But again, it's never too late as it was. I was divorced, what, Pete, for 4 years when I got a financial plan. It woke me up. I didn't want to know. Pete kind of had to like force me into it. was the best decision I ever made because I mean, you notice, Pete, I went back to work. There were so many things I needed to do and I would not have I didn't want to see it. And that's why so many women don't do a budget and don't have a financial plan and it's a shame.
Just really quick, one of the most important things we do is start the conversation. Um, I am confident that every single person we've sat down and worked with feels better when we're done. We are not magicians. We don't have the ability to have unrealistic outcomes, but knowing what your future holds is such a relief for the majority of the clients that we work with. I feel that it is one of the most important things women can do for themselves while they're going through this process. And we believe so much in it, as you are aware. We do the financial planning piece up front as a courtesy to our clients. Why? We need them to understand where they are so that we can best help them. But without a doubt, the feedback that we get when this gets done, whether they choose to work with us or not, is they go, I now know what I have to do. Some are pleasantly surprised. They're in a much better position than they felt they were. Others, we learn things as they're going through that shape what they're fighting for. What asset do I want the house? Do I want to go after this one asset? I'm going to spend 4 times more in court trying to get it than not. You mentioned someone, hopefully none of our clients, but someone passing away. What if that person was the crux of their financial plan, and without them having their income, their financial plan falls apart? And we point out, well, you need to have this insured. There's other things that we look at. We look at marital settlement agreements all the time. And because this is the focus of our practice, we're very good at pointing things out. And a financial plan can also be a tool to send clients, to send women who are going through divorce to go speak with their attorney so that they're prepared when they speak with their attorney. Clocks are running sometimes when you're speaking with your attorney, to go into those conversations prepared what to ask for and to have an idea of what you're trying to get. That can be incredibly helpful and leads to the best outcomes post-divorce.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? Wait, I have so much to say. I was like taking notes that whole time. So, first of all, when you said that everyone's always happy no matter what the outcome, you're right. Because for me, I was worse off than I thought. And I was still happy that I did it because I was like, okay, now at least I know what I have to do. I went back to work. Well, I was working like a side business, but not enough. It was the best thing ever did for so many reasons other even than financial. Self-confidence, I appreciated my kids more, I felt better about myself, I loved the people I worked with. I mean, I could do a whole podcast on that. But your point of everyone's happy, at least because now you know and you have information, you're empowered to know what you have to do. And the other thing I want to tell everybody is what Pete said about Vestor not charging for their consult. That's a big deal because there's a lot of financial firms that charge thousands of dollars for the financial plan but Vestor does not. So they're taking the risk. And I think we talked about this once. Tell me if I'm wrong, but most people end up becoming your clients after that. There aren't too many that walk away.
I can't say that definitively. We do have a very good track record of people who sit down and work with us. I will say this, we have to be in the best position to help people who are referred to us, to help people that come through our door. What we try and do is put a plan in front of them so that they walk away knowing more about their situation. If we're a good fit, if we come up with a plan, then they need our help executing on it. We're a perfect fit for people. We end up with clients. We have very good retention with our clients. Most people we hope work with us for life. If I come up with a financial plan and that doesn't fit their expectations, we don't ever want them to work with us. If we put something in front and they say, no, that's not going to work for me, I need to do something else, I want to put all of my money into some crazy investment, well, you wouldn't be happy working with us, and we don't want them to go through the pain of switching over to us. So it's really, again, everybody walks away feeling good about it. It's the best advertising we do for ourselves. It You're going through a stressful period in your life. The last thing we want is someone to waste time doing something. So we try and give them something to walk away with where they know more about their financial situation. And if they would like to work with us moving forward, we know we end up with great clients who typically tend to work with us for life.
Well, and how many times over the years have I called you guys asking, you and Elaine Moss is on the team also. She's a financial advisor. If anybody listening knows Elaine. I have called you guys over the years, well, and now Lauren, I call too. And I'll say like, "Pete, what do you think of me doing this?" What And then when my kids went to college, "Pete, okay, how do I do this? What do I do?" So what's nice about Vestor is you can call anytime. Pete has a Calendly link. You set up a time. You can ask him questions about major life decisions and get his opinion financially. And you're not charged for it. So really, it's a wonderful relationship that you get with your financial advisor. Or I can only speak for Vestor, but it's really nice. Okay, I have another question. This one is for Lauren. What do you say to the woman who walks in and says like, "Okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. He took care of all the finances and I don't even know what I'm even doing."
Sure. I think that's a great question. And it's also um, a fair assessment of how someone may be feeling at the time. There's a lot happening at once, but our job is to kind of take a little bit of that chaos out of the process and help you come up with the facts, put the information in front of yourself, and like you said, empower you to make decisions moving forward because things are changing, um whether we want them to or not in any situation. So again, making sure you have that information in advance so that you can make the best decisions for yourself and possibly your children or family in general. It's again, very important, although it may feel daunting.
And don't you guys feel like what you see in this transformation of these women is that it's such an amazing thing to see these women, you guys tell me, coming in and saying like, "I didn't know anything, and wow, now this isn't as complicated as I thought, and I can handle this." And then they feel empowered, they feel good about themselves.
I'll even add on to that. As I was mentioning earlier, that is one of the best parts of working in this space is when you see someone take control of their finances, the other opportunities it opens up for them. When you're no longer spending all this time worried about, can I survive? And you realize, wow, I really can survive. I have action steps on what I can do next. Well, suddenly the whole conversation changes. You stop being focused on right now and you start thinking about the future. And with many of our other clients, all of a sudden all these light bulbs start going off. What can I be doing? Not what do I need to do? What do I want to do? How can I change my circumstances, regardless of what they are? And it becomes empowering. And we have so many success stories of women who are just totally different from when we first meet them. Some are exactly the same, but watching them figure out what they want to do, when I get a baseline plan done for people, it says, this is what you're doing now. We can come in and make suggestions. This is what we think you need to be doing. But once we agree on that plan, we now have a tool. You can come in and tell me, well, I'm thinking of starting my own business. And I can tell you, okay, this is what it looks like compared to that baseline plan. If you do it best case scenario, worst case scenario, average scenario, this is what your future could look like. I'm not here to make decisions for you, but if I give you that tool, you can take a look and say, wow, I can afford to take this risk. And if it doesn't work out, I know that I can't stretch this goal out for past 2 years, or I'll really have to reconsider if this is a good idea. But now you have a tool and you know what to expect if things go wrong. And when things go right, and they're much more likely to go right if you go into it prepared, that's when the real joy in our job comes. And we get to see our clients become financially successful on their own. And it's just exciting.
And I
I
think
just
also
love this. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
I didn't
Lauren.
mean to cut you off, Jackie, but just to add to Pete's point, I think that is a big fear a lot of the times that we're going to be criticized for how we're spending our money or the ideas and dreams that we do have. And I think once you go through the process, you realize, it's not our job to tell you how to spend your money. It's our job to show you how you can get there and be able to sustain that spending. So you can buy whatever you want, or you can dream of any, come up with any dream that you have, and we can show you where you are today so that you know how you can get there. Um,
And I love vacation budgets.
Yeah.
Or I love budgets for a specific item. Don't even have to tell me what it is, but when I know it's there, that's part of your plan.
I
Um,
love this. How about the woman who says, wow, I'm doing so much better than I thought. Maybe after the divorce, I'm just not going to work for a year. I'm going to be a dog walker, work on my book, and stay home with my kids. And then in a year from now, I'll figure out, if I want to go back to work. Or the opposite, someone could say, okay, it looks like if I work another 5 years after that, I can basically do whatever I want. I'm going to work on my book while I'm working. And then in 5 years, I know I'm headed towards retirement. 5 years, that's going to go by like that. And I love my job anyway. So it's these kinds of decisions that if you don't have a plan, you have no way of knowing what you're going to have, how long your money's going to last. But if you know the information, you'll be so relaxed, more calm because you'll be empowered.
yeah. Well, and again, you just kind of hit the nail on the head there. When we're sitting down with people initially, the budgeting piece, are you cash flow negative, even, or positive? If you're cash flow negative, how long can you stay cash flow negative before something needs to change? Well, cash flow negative can be resolved by having an income. Maybe it's by receiving maintenance. Maybe it's by interest and investment gains in your portfolio. But we try and sort that out for you and get an idea. But say your plan works and you're going to make a change that takes you to being cash flow negative. Maybe there's a massive payoff for you several years down. I'm going to go back to college because right now I don't think that I can get a job that I need, especially for our women who are younger, who say, I really want to have a high paying career. I was on that track before I got married. I gave it up in our marriage, but now I want to go back to that. Well, I'm going to be cash flow negative for a couple of years. Great. Let's plan it out. Let's see what you need to be prepared for when you make that decision. And then all of a sudden you can give you the confidence so that while you're studying, you're not worried about if you're going to run out of money. It's part of your overall plan. So, and that's just one of many, starting a business, going back to school, buying a home. Hey, I have to move post divorce. Well, how much do I want to spend? And if you see it impacts you in other areas of your life, again, that's the beauty of doing these plans. You get to show people the actual outcome that's to be expected if they make X, Y, or Z decision. And it's fun. Once we get a plan done, it's fun to do revisions. And like I said, the one thing financial planning is not is dictating to you what you need to do without understanding what you want or need to do. And once we understand that, our clients, when you're going through divorce, you are young. You have so many years left to plan for. And the last thing you want to do is make a decision, ignore the consequences of that decision for years. And instead of making minor little tweaks to your financial plan, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you have to make a major change to your budget. And we help people avoid those mistakes. And this is what we do.
Love it, guys. Thank you so much, Pete Mullins and Lauren Connelly from Vestor Capital. Thank you guys so much for taking time. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jackie. It was great.
And if you're listening to this and you want to reach out to Pete and Lauren, you can find them on the website, which is vestorcapital.com. And of course, you can find them in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling, which is divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.